When I was 15, I picked up a younger brother. However, 10 years later, our relationship had completely changed. The young man's love is passionate, without any hesitation or concealment. I accompanied him from having nothing to having everything. He gave me a marriage certificate and promised to spend the rest of his life with me. We have always been in love. At least that's what I thought before I caught him cheating. 1. When I returned home early from my business trip, Justin gave me a big surprise. In the bedroom just across the door, my lover was making love with another man. I froze at the door, my mind going blank. I thought I should rush in and catch them in the act, but I never dared to take a step forward. Maybe a few years earlier, I could have just walked in with a kitchen knife. But I am already 35 years old this year. Adults should be decent. Cheating and catching someone cheating are both very embarrassing. Justin can do the former, but I, Mudong, cannot do the latter. I turned around and walked down to the parking lot and got into his car. In the latest dashcam video, someone got on his passenger seat. After a coquettish Justin, I heard the sound of a zipper sliding. In the small space, heavy breathing mixed with the ambiguous sound of water stains. After all, he is 7 years younger than me and is full of energy. No one may believe it if I tell you. Faced with such a blatant scene of cheating, I was not angry, but instead felt a bit of an inferior sense of superiority. Because Justin would never let me do this for him. I covered my forehead with my hands and laughed at myself for being crazy, then copied them to my phone with an expressionless face. I didn't sleep all night. I drove away before dawn and drove back before nightfall. 2. After calling Justin, I sat in the car for 10 minutes and smoked a cigarette before going back up. When I opened the door, the house was filled with an overpowering smell of perfume. I glanced at the man who had just finished his shower as if nothing had happened. Then he pretends to be ignorant even though he knows the truth. "Why are you wearing so much perfume?" Justin came over and hugged my waist, biting my earlobe with the mouth that had kissed others before. The answer is not relevant to the question. Doesn't it smell good? I turned my head away calmly. It smells good, like the cool, refreshing feeling of a sow that is about to be castrated after mating. The corners of Justin's mouth twitched, and it was hard to tell whether his expression was ugly or good-looking. "You've always been good with metaphors." He changed the subject. "Have you eaten yet? There's some food in the fridge you can heat up." It has to be said that some habits formed in childhood cannot be changed easily. Any CEO with a decent fortune would not allow leftovers in his refrigerator. I pulled my clothes and walked to the bathroom. Have eaten. The moment the hot water poured over my head, I came alive. Sure enough, I still don't like this damn cool feeling. Before going to bed, Justin squeezed himself between my legs. "Brother, are you coming?" I tried to see his expression in the dim light. The level of a best actor really makes me look frigid. But whenever I think about him sleeping with someone else, I feel sick. "No, I'm too tired." Justin stared at me for a while, then rolled off me with a lack of interest. Soon, the sound of steady breathing came from behind. I turned my head to look, picked up the cigarette box on the bedside table, and went to the balcony. A spot of scarlet illuminated the wide, thick gold ring on the middle finger. This is the wedding ring Justin gave me when he first started his company. In fact, when we went to Canada to register our marriage, he originally wanted to give me a fashionable diamond ring, but I insisted that he change it to gold. I said gold is a good way to preserve its value, and if he doesn't want me anymore in the future, I will sell it for money. I just didn't expect that the bullet I accidentally fired back then would hit me right between the eyebrows many years later. What I didn't expect was that the person who was so troubled at the beginning is now worried about the gains and losses in this relationship. By the time the cigarette butts piled up at his feet, the person on the bed woke up and stretched. But Justin wasn't fully awake yet, so he was stunned by my words. He squinted his eyes and looked at me like an old man in his 70s. "What did you just say?" I threw the divorce papers at him. "I want a divorce. In addition, I request that 30% of the company's shares be converted into cash and transferred to my name. I have already submitted my resignation from the company." Although he built the company single-handedly, He would not be in this position if I had not paid for his schooling and given him funds to start his own business. Justin glanced at the contract and was silent for a long time before he started to blame others. I said, "Why are you rejecting me after coming back from a week-long business trip? Have you been hanging out with some pretty boy for a long time, and you're planning to rip me off?" I didn't refute, but just quietly turned on the dash cam recording that was transmitted to my phone. "It's fine if you don't want to pay, then I'll go to court. I just don't know if the stain of cheating on your spouse is enough to get you kicked out of the house." The man who had looked fearless just now suddenly turned pale. I ignored Justin's panic and thoughtfully handed him a pen. On this day, Justin and I lost our home. I drove around aimlessly and finally stopped in front of an unfinished building. This was Justin and I's first home and the source of our startup funds. I opened the car window and picked up another cigarette. Surrounded by smoke, I began to recall my life. 3. I can't remember when I started to become a typical bad boy in their eyes. Probably after my dad discovered my mom cheating on him and stabbed her and then committed suicide. I have done everything, including smoking, drinking, perming my hair, and fighting. Anyway, I have no father or mother, so even if I assassinate the emperor, I can't kill my entire clan. At that time, my favorite thing was to fight with people in the alley behind the school. For no other reason than to make money. They robbed students of their protection fees, so I was responsible for standing up for them. Those who are sensible will give me a thank you fee, while those who are not will quietly run away when I am fighting. Justin is senior to them all, and he asked me for money. He said that the broken padlock on my bag scratched his arm, and he begged me for $2. Then not long after, I saw him eating a $2 loaf of bread in front of the grocery store while holding a bucket of instant noodles. At that time, Justin was very short, dark, and skinny. I don't think I'm an overly compassionate person, but I still threw the instant noodles I had only eaten a few bites of to him. He didn't dislike it and ate up all the noodles and soup. From that day on, there was an inexplicable little tale behind me. You can't drive him away by scolding him, and you can't get rid of him by throwing him away. I endured the pain in the corner of my mouth and stuffed the thank you fee I had just received into his hands. "Go home and stop following me." He looked down at the money in his hand, not knowing what he was thinking. I limped out, and suddenly a voice rang out behind me in the silence. "My father chased my mother away and then drowned in the river. Brother, I have no home anymore." 8-year-old Justin was not afraid of anything. He was brave enough to go home with others with only $2 and half a bucket of instant noodles. When I was 15, I had nothing, but even though my life was a mess, I didn't want to see others homeless. Justin's call of "brother" made a dry place in my heart start to become moist. This feeling is strange. For the first time, I felt like something was being placed on my shoulders. It pressed me down so hard that I couldn't straighten my back, but I enjoyed it. I have never really experienced the feeling of having a family, and I don't know what the atmosphere of a home should be like. All I knew was that I didn't want Justin to be as bad as me. I have these hands that I can use for fighting and carrying dishes, but his hands can only be used to hold a pen. When Justin was in junior high school, he got into a fight and broke the nail on his right index finger. After leaving the hospital, I was so angry that my heart ached. He stood aside with his gauze-wrapped fingers raised, looking at me with a pale face. "Will you have a girlfriend in the future? They all said that you would stop caring about me after you got a girlfriend. Brother, is that so?" As he spoke, Justin started to cry. I walked over with a frown on my face, and when I raised my hand to wipe his tears, I realized that this boy was actually half a head taller than me. "Yes, but no. Even if I get married and have children in the future, I will still be your brother." Hearing this, Justin looked at me without saying a word, with a dull expression. I patted him on the back and went to the kitchen to cook him a bowl of noodles. As he turned around, he grabbed the corner of my clothes. "Brother, can you not get married? What a bullshit request." I didn't answer the question. "Don't worry, I'll take care of you forever." When Justin was a senior in high school, my house was included in the demolition area. That summer, we moved into a rental house with a very thin yet heavy bank card. I rested for a month as if I was depriving of oxygen, and finally found a job in a random dessert shop. Unlike the dirty and messy working environments in the past, people coming in and out here are all fashionable and beautiful men and women. Because I wasn't too ugly, it didn't take long for me to get my first girlfriend, Emily. On Justin's 18th birthday, I officially brought Emily home. He got very angry when he heard the news. He even said in front of Emily that he didn't like this woman and didn't want her to be his sister-in-law. Emily was so scared that she kept crying. I am sure that I worked so hard to support his studies for the past 10 years, not for him to become such a person who does not know right from wrong in every situation. So while Justin was still talking, I slapped him. It's quiet. On the way home, I kept comforting Emily. Before leaving, she said goodbye to me. But I know she won't give me this chance again. When I got home, as soon as I opened the door, I saw Justin squatting in the corner looking pitiful. He looked over, his eyes red as hell. "Brother, this is the first time you hit me." I looked at the mess on the ground and covered my face to calm myself down. "But Justin, I'm the one living with her. It's unreasonable for you to do this." 5. That night, my brother and I slept in the same bed again after a long time. All night long, I tried to reason with a college student, even though Justin has been responding to me with silence. After a long time, he finally spoke. "Brother, we can live together forever, right? I don't understand why living is only possible when you are married to a woman." I closed my eyes and pulled the quilt over my head. Well, it's all in vain. At that time, I naively considered Justin's possessiveness towards me as part of our hard-earned family relationship. Until one day a month later, the store manager came to me for a talk with a grim look on his face. He said there was a video, but he didn't know whether he should show it to me. A few days ago, at a dinner party, I drank too much and went home to call him on video to let him know I was safe. But by the time he answered the phone, I had already thrown the phone aside and fallen asleep. Originally, his finger was on the hang-up button, but after seeing the shocking scene, he slowly moved his finger up and pressed the record button instead. At that time, I joked that he might have seen a ghost. As a result, when I snatched his phone and opened the video, my face looked uglier than his. Because in the video, Justin was hugging me, his drunk brother, and asking for kisses over and over again. My brain suddenly stopped thinking. I deleted the video immediately after a minute. I returned the phone to the manager. Even though my mind was clear at this moment, my tongue still trembled. "Brother, please keep this to yourself." 6. After that day, I suddenly didn't know how to face Justin. Those things that seemed normal before, hugging each other's shoulders, now looked completely different in my eyes. I began to avoid him unconsciously, and unconsciously forced myself to avoid him in time and space. When I returned home at midnight for the nth time, the dark living room suddenly became as bright as day with a click. I instinctively raised my arms to shield my face, trying to adjust to the strong light through the gaps between my fingers. Before I could even open my eyes, a familiar voice poured over my head like ice water. Avoiding me? Through my fingers, Justin, whom I hadn't seen for a long time, was sitting on the sofa, looking at me silently. My heart trembled, and I suppressed my inner panic and spoke. "Why would I hide from you for no reason? I'm just a little busy in the store lately." This is a poor excuse. I can't imagine what a shabby dessert shop could be busy with. Justin looked over and threw a bomb at me expressionlessly. "Isn't it because you found out that I was plotting something bad against you that you're hiding from me?" My professional fake smile froze on my face. Justin is so brave. He spoke out the secret so easily and without any concealment, which was so tormenting to me and difficult to accept and digest. "Brother, your acting is really bad. The difference is too obvious." These words made me feel ashamed and powerless to resist. Compared to me, Justin seemed too comfortable. I took a deep breath and felt like I was being forced into something I was not prepared for. "Justin, I think we need to have a talk." "What?" Justin just sat there motionless, his tone frank and firm. "If you just want to talk to me about something inappropriate, so that I can give up some unrealistic ideas and get back on track, then no need to talk about it." 7. I couldn't respond to Justin's words. Just like he dragged his luggage out of the bedroom and said he couldn't face me anymore. He said he wouldn't force me, but his actions forced me to face up to the deteriorating relationship between him and me. They don't seem to be the same person. The former are close relatives without blood ties, while the latter are friends whom you cannot have. The choice of Justin's identity cruelly fell into my hands. When Justin lived in the school dormitory, I seemed to be back to the fearless days 10 years ago. I am the only one at home, but I can see the shadow of another person everywhere. This sense of gap between reality and illusion makes me feel uneasy. I suddenly seem to have lost the motivation to become an adult. But even in such an ambiguous emotional space, I understand that this has nothing to do with broken heart. I just feel like I've lost another loved one, just like I did many years ago. The phone dinged and a notification popped up, indicating that the transfer on the social software was returned via the original route. I typed over, "Tell me what you need and I'll buy it and send it to you." He responded very quickly, as if he was waiting for me to contact him. "I have everything I need, except a wife. Can you send yourself to me?" I stared at the phone in a daze and didn't reply. One night, I heard someone turning the lock of my door with a key. I sat on the sofa and looked over. Justin is back. This is the 21st day since he moved into the dormitory. We looked at each other, and no one dared to speak first. The second hand was ticking away, and Justin at the door seemed to have suddenly pressed a switch and rushed towards me. I was pressed into the sofa, my lips were bitten, and a large amount of oxygen was deprived me. But I didn't push him away until I was running out of oxygen. Justin pressed his forehead against mine, exhaling hot air from his lips. "Brother, why don't you push me away?" I closed my eyes and dared not open them. "Did you get your luggage back?" Justin said, After 10 years of living together, he understands that he is my weak spot. At least until now, my life has revolved around him. I put my arms around his neck and pulled him towards me until our chins were resting on each other's necks. "Justin, my choice now is just because I don't want to lose another loved one." I opened my eyes again, and the strong light shining on Justin's black hair didn't seem so glaring anymore. At least so far, it's definitely not because there's love between us. So when Justin turned 18, our relationship completely changed. The boy's love was passionate, without any hesitation or concealment. Whenever he thought of it, he would press me down and kiss me hard. From painful resistance at the beginning to unconscious compliance later. Generous, cautious, naked, joyful. We are each adapting to each other's changes in identity. When Justin was in his senior year, I used the demolition compensation to invest in his startup. He was very competitive and soon stood out among the new business elites. After the company was officially established, we exchanged rings abroad, and holding a legally binding marriage certificate, we became a model couple in the eyes of those people. We have always been in love. At least that's what I thought before I caught him cheating. Justin transferred the money much earlier than I expected, and the amount was unexpectedly much larger. It's hard for me to imagine how he managed to cash in so quickly. Perhaps he had been preparing for this day to come. After my divorce, I took a long time off to learn how to make desserts, and then opened a shop in the bustling city center. I recruited a few friends, and their daily chattering and laughter kept my bad mood from getting in the way. After stumbling around until I was 35, I seemed to have lost everything, but also seemed to have lost and regained something. A young boy came to the store that day. He ordered a piece of strawberry cake and a cup of coffee and sat in the store for 2 hours. Before leaving, he made a phone call. About 10 minutes later, a black car stopped at the door. When the boy opened the passenger door, the little girl was still leaning over to my ear and complaining angrily about someone's stinky cat trying to seduce her Princess Mimi. But my brain couldn't react. All I saw was Justin's expressionless profile flash by in the driver's seat. The car sped away, leaving me at a loss, still vaguely thinking that the quick encounter just now was just an illusion. But I quickly denied the above speculation, because the answer showed up on my doorstep that evening. It seems that after leaving me, my brother is much happier than before. Justin was still wearing the suit he had worn in the afternoon, with a cigarette between his fingers. The flickering light of the fire seemed to have no effect on him, and he looked so gloomy that he seemed to have merged into the night. But brother, why do I feel so sad when I see you smiling so happily at others? I stared at him for a while, then took out my key and went into the house. The door was not closed. When I walked into the living room with a cup of hot water, Justin fell into the sofa with unsteady steps. I handed him the hot water amidst the strong smell of alcohol. Try to drink less when you are socializing in the future. Even a young body can't stand constant torment. Justin took it with a chuckle, speaking in a sarcastic tone. You really are a good brother who knows how to care for his younger brother. Without waiting for me to speak, he changed the subject. Isn't this the first time you've seen that boy today? His name is Kevin, and he's the person I cheated with. Justin lay on the sofa, looking at me, with some emotion in his eyes that I couldn't understand. But judging from my brother's reaction, he doesn't seem to remember him. I don't understand. Does it matter whether I remember who you cheated with? I just thought he was drunk and didn't intend to pay any more attention to him. Wake up after a while and take a taxi back. As I turned to leave, Justin suddenly asked me a fatal question. Brother, after all these years, have you ever really loved me? I don't know how to answer, because I never seem to think about this question. I said, I don't know, but I know. I didn't understand why this sentence angered Justin. He suddenly stood up and grabbed my shoulders. The thumb pinched very deeply and the pain was very clear. Let me tell you, you didn't. Because if you really loved me, you wouldn't have walked into the law firm without even asking questions after discovering that I had cheated on you. You should have kicked down the bedroom door, torn me off the other guy, and then beat me to death, and called me names. You should be furious and ask me why I did this. Ask me if this is worthy of our relationship of more than 10 years. Justin smiled bleakly. But you didn't do anything. You're as calm as a dead person. My mind was completely shocked. How did you know I went to the law firm outside of the bedroom? An outrageous thought suddenly came to his mind, but was ruthlessly broken by Justin the next second. Because I feel guilty, brother. I have to be on guard against you catching me cheating at any time. 9. I was so angry that I laughed at Justin's words. Then, congratulations, you don't have to feel guilty anymore. Although the process was not pleasant, fortunately the result was a happy one for everyone. After he finished speaking, the person who had been smiling just now suddenly changed his expression. Yeah, everyone is happy. He stared at me quietly and slowly, another me reflected in his dark eyes. But I, the original me, felt a chill for no reason. Brother, you and Kevin are like two extremes in bed. The more open he is, the more restrained you are. But I still like the look when you bite your lips and endure until the corners of your eyes turn red, because it's really annoying. Justin came closer to me and smiled. Brother, the night is perfect, otherwise we... Before he could finish his sentence, I punched Justin. These few short sentences made me doubt the little boy in my memory. Are you still the Justin I knew? I raised you, let you study, and started your own business. Is it just for you to stand in front of me one day and humiliate me? I pointed to the door. Now get out of my house. There's no need to see you again. Justin touched his swollen face, then staggered towards the door with a helpless smile. The door opened and closed. In the quiet space, only the voice Justin left before he left was echoing. If I had known that I would be entangled with you for so long, I would rather die at the age of 8. 10. I never saw Justin again. I heard from my former colleagues that Justin sold the company and the new boss is as bad as Joe Baopi, which made many veterans want to just leave. He talked about the current situation of many people, but he didn't mention where Justin went. It was as if the person who had been with me for more than 10 years disappeared overnight. While I was working in that not-so-big dessert shop, I looked in the mirror and found that the heavy things that used to weigh on my shoulders were gone. It was drizzling outside the window that day. It's not big, but it's annoying when it drips on your carefully matched clothes. Someone sat opposite me with a cup of coffee. I looked up, and a wave of long-lost memories came over me. She said to me, "Haven't seen you for a long time." I stupidly pushed the untouched dessert in front of me towards her and responded, Haven't seen you for a long time. When I was 36 years old, I met Emily again unexpectedly. I don't know if the girlfriend I was nominally dating for the first time can be considered my first love. The rain kept falling, and the inconvenient weather made our topic successfully transition from having nothing to say to something that resonated with us. In both of our respective marriages, we were the ones who were cheated on. Faced with such a terrible and identical story, we both seemed to have torn off the chilling fig leaf of this relationship early on. When they parted, Emily spread out the QR code on her social media app. Are you still single now? The thoughts between adults are self-evident. I tensed my hands and added another key point to the marriage story just now. I just ended a same-sex marriage. I may not be able to like the opposite sex anymore. Emily was so shocked that she stopped talking. After a few seconds, she smiled brightly. It's okay. Maybe we're more suitable to be friends than lovers, right? I was stunned for a moment, then smiled and picked up my phone to scan the QR code. After adding successfully, Emily pointed outside. The rain has stopped. I'm leaving now. Having said that, she stood up, said goodbye, and left. The coffee on the table was completely cold. I was walking alone on the street holding an umbrella, wondering if one day in the future someone would bend down, put their arms around my waist, and get on the other side of the umbrella. Soon I knew it would. The man reeked of alcohol and stumbled, knocking me to the ground. I looked up. An acquaintance. Justin's cheating partner, Kevin. Sorry bro, Kevin's vague apology came to an abrupt end when he saw my face clearly. Heh, it's you. I pushed him away and stood up, looking at the mud all over my body and not knowing where to start. Kevin laughed dryly and turned over and sat on the ground. Look at how embarrassed I am now. Are you very happy in your heart? I glanced at him. You and Justin broke up? Kevin's face instantly fell when he heard the word Justin. He asked me back, have I ever been with Justin? Before I could say anything, Kevin suddenly started swearing. He's a fucking scumbag. Kevin stood up and grabbed my shoulders with red eyes. Yes, I fell in love with a married man. But what did I do wrong? I didn't do anything. It was Justin who took the initiative to show me kindness. He was the one who invited me to your house. He stood up and pointed at himself emotionally. But he drugged me and told me to play with myself like a bitch. He even took those shameful photos of me and threatened me not to come to the store to find you. At last, he smiled like a madman. What do you think he wants? Is he trying to catch you in bed so he can break up with you? I stared at Kevin without saying a word, then turn around and leave. I could still vaguely hear Kevin's roar behind me, but my mind is too confused to squeeze in anything else. 11. I stayed at home for 3 days. On the 4th day, I drove to City A. In a not-so-high-end neighborhood, a man was standing in the wind wearing a disheveled black coat. I looked him up and down carefully. You've lost weight. The redness in the man's eyes quickly spread, and his chest heaving so strongly that it seemed as if his entire body was shaking. His lips moved a few times, giving a response that didn't seem real. Elder brother. The living room with cold decorations still has the aroma of after-dinner tea. On the balcony, I took out a pack of cigarettes from my pocket, took out one and passed it to the side. Do you want to smoke? The man stared at me, his eyes not moving downward. I took back the cigarette box and lit it myself. After the smoke rose, there was no other smell in my nostrils. I ran into Kevin the other day. He didn't seem to be doing well, he was acting crazy, and he said some weird things. The money was transferred so quickly, and they wanted to use me as a scapegoat to break up. They let me raise the money first. I exhaled a puff of smoke and looked at Justin. You know me well, don't you? The complex emotions faded away, leaving only coldness in Justin's tone. I'm useless. All these years have failed to change your feelings for me. I am very selfish because I know that I became your lover for the past 10 years because of your compromise, but I still pretended not to understand and accepted it. He grabbed my arm and finally smiled at me. Brother, I'm sorry for all the years you've been with me. I searched his eyes. Then she took the cigarette out of her mouth and pressed it directly on the back of his hand. The sparks crushed the flesh and went out in pain and ashes. Justin's hand on my arm didn't move at all. See, he's still smiling. I punched him directly in the face, then rode on him, pulled his collar and questioned him. If you say start, I have to start. If you say end, I have to end. What the hell do you think I am? Justin stopped pretending, raised his head and shouted at me at the top of his lungs. What do I take you for? I regard you as my life. I regard you as my only reason to live in this world. I fucking like you. I like you so much. But you just treat me as your most important brother, and then you ridiculously compromise on any of my requests just to maintain some bullshit family relationship. Do you know how painful it is for me every time I say I love you with a smile, but you only respond with, you know? Justin's words hammered into my ears word by word, and my hands gradually lost strength. I seemed to see the little kid from more than 10 years ago, with tears flowing out of his eyes like crazy. Justin's jaw was so tight it was shaking. He told me with sobs, "Brother, you are not the only one suffering in this deteriorating relationship." 12. I got off Justin. All kinds of emotions in my heart suddenly made me numb. Took me a long time to regain my thoughts. I rubbed my stiff face, trying to make it look less pale. You are quite right about one thing. During the 10 years that we were in love, I had a really hard time. At first it was because I couldn't adapt. Then it was because I was worried about losing. And finally it was because I had prepared myself mentally for being abandoned. But then I found that I still couldn't accept it. I smiled at Justin, and it seemed a little forced to him. "Justin, you don't know me at all." Justin was stunned, as if he had been hit by a stick. His tears seemed to be more violent than before, and the corners of his mouth twitched to make a sound of disbelief yet eagerness to affirm. "Brother, I don't understand. What are you worried about? What are you mentally prepared for? What can't you accept?" Justin simply stood up and knelt beside me, holding my shoulders. "Brother, please explain it clearly. I don't understand." His strength, which was no longer under my control, made me feel a little painful. It hurt so much that even my tears feel blocked in my tear ducts. I wiped the tears from my face and looked at Justin. "Justin, I'm 7 years older than you. At your prime age, I have become that old and ugly uncle in the eyes of others. When I realized that I liked you, I also realized the gap between us in every aspect. I don't have the confidence to let a girl like Mudong enjoy your love for the rest of her life. So I am ready to be abandoned by you at any time, and I am ready to watch you fall in love with someone else. God knows how much I wanted to rush in with a kitchen knife in my hand the day I caught you cheating on me." I met Justin's gaze and smiled bitterly. "It took me a year to accept the fact that you didn't love me anymore. But in the end someone told me that it was all fake." After saying that, Justin pulled me into his arms. Because he was so excited, he spoke incoherently, with words sputtering out one by one. "Brother, you are not old. You are not ugly. You are worthy. I like you. I love you." Justin swallowed, trying to calm down. He held my face and kissed the corner of my mouth lightly. "It must be because I didn't do well enough that I made you feel insecure. I can change. I can change. I won't fall in love with anyone else. I only want you. I'll write a contract later. If it happens again, I'll leave the house with nothing. No matter how many times you slash me, or even kill me, I won't pursue the matter." After saying that, I bit his lips hard. "Do you dare to think there will be a next time?" Justin didn't feel any pain. I held my head and kissed him, just like the boy 10 years ago. Love passionately, without any hesitation or concealment. "I dare not in this lifetime. Brother, I love you." 13. Justin's perspective. When I first met Mudong, I was a little scared of him, because he seems to like beating people just like my dad. But my dad wouldn't give me money or food. But Mudong not only gave me $2 but also treated me to half a bucket of instant noodles, and even gave me all the money he earned from the fight. So, at the age of 8, I was so useless that I begged and pleaded to find myself a brother. My brother is very good to me. He spends all the money he earns on me. He provided me with food and accommodation, and allowed me to carry my school bag and go to school again. When I was in junior high school, some classmates gossiped about me. They said I was an unwanted wild child and that they would no longer care about me after my brother got married. Sometimes they say I am shameless and sometimes they say I am thick-skinned. I heard them all, but I ignored them until I heard someone calling my brother a scumbag, saying that he had to sell his ass in nightclubs to raise enough money for my tuition. That day, I picked up a chair and threw it at him, brushing against his ear. After coming out of the hospital, my brother was very angry. He asked me why I fought, and I didn't dare tell him. I asked my brother if he would really stop caring about me after he got a girlfriend. But my brother said he would take care of me for the rest of my life. I believe in my brother. 14. During the summer vacation of my senior year in high school, I became a second-generation demolition worker thanks to my brother. We moved into a 2-bedroom, 1-living-room rental house, and my brother quit all his previous exhausting jobs. On my 18th birthday, my brother said he wanted to give me a surprise. He said he had a girlfriend. My brain felt like a huge hole had been smashed in it. I couldn't control my emotions in the face of their ambiguous behavior. So I lost control and I had a big fight with them. My brother slapped me and left with the woman. It's not their fault that they don't understand, because even I don't understand what I'm doing. But this was the first time my brother hit me, and it was for another woman who could become his family. I'm so scared. I'm so scared that someone will take my brother away. My brother came back very late. As soon as he came in, he accused me of being unreasonable. At night, I forced him to sleep in the same bed with me. He said a lot, but I couldn't hear a word he said. I just don't understand why living with women is the only way to live a life. I can also stay with my brother for the rest of my life. Because of the fuss I made that day, my brother lost his girlfriend. He looked unhappy and sometimes he was distracted when I talked to him. He came back drunk that day. He lay on the bed with a red face, his disheveled body twisting restlessly. When my gaze moved from the corners of his crimson eyes to his tightly pursed lips, I suddenly became motionless. It was an emotion that was hard to describe. It penetrated my mouth and soles of my feet, devouring my oxygen and teasing my lower abdomen. I lost my mind and kissed my brother, until I heard my brother's cell phone ring softly. Oops, looks like I've been discovered. 15. As expected, my brother started avoiding me. He works hard every day, going out early and coming back late, just to avoid meeting me. I felt sorry for my brother, so I blocked him when he came home late. I asked my brother if he was avoiding me. My brother denied it, but his acting is really bad. I know my brother, his heart is devoted to me. I'm not sure if my brother will choose to compromise again on this matter, but I want to give it a try. On the 9th day after I moved into the dormitory, my brother transferred 2,000 yuan to me. I confiscated it. On the 18th day, my brother asked me again if I needed anything and asked him to send it to me. I told him I needed a wife and asked him to send myself over. For 3 days in a row, my brother ignored me. I have a feeling my brother is going to compromise again, because my brother didn't try to persuade me anymore. That night, I kissed my brother while he was awake. He didn't push me away. My brother said that his current choice was simply because he didn't want to lose another loved one. At least so far, it is definitely not because there is love between us. But I'm selfish and I don't care. I only want my brother. 16. Shortly after the company was established, I took my brother to Canada to register our marriage. We wore the same wedding rings, very old-fashioned and tacky, because this is what my brother pointed to on the counter. I have never been secretive about our relationship. I like to introduce my brother to everyone. I want them to know that Mudong belongs to me from inside out. But my brother doesn't seem to like me doing this. I could see my brother's resistance. I think I'm so bad that my brother still hasn't liked me. So I will be extra nice to my brother in the future. People are all made of flesh and blood. Sooner or later, I will be able to make my brother fall in love with me. As the days passed, I gave him countless bouquets of flowers and watched countless movies with him. But during those countless passionate nights, he always restrained himself from shouting out loud. I told him, "I love you" countless times, and my brother always smiled and said he knew. But he also knew that this was not what I wanted. I don't know since when, but the ashtray at home has unknowingly accumulated a lot of ash. I didn't say anything and quietly hid the ashtray. That night, my brother hid in the car and smoked half a pack of cigarettes before going upstairs. I never knew my brother was such a heavy smoker. I don't dare to think about when he became addicted to smoking. I dare not even guess whether he wants to numb himself with nicotine or not. But the truth is, I know everything. Because he was not the only one who suffered during these 10 years. 17. Again, I know my brother too well. Only when he feels that I no longer need him can he leave with peace of mind. I know Kevin, the new intern in the company, likes me. I gave him a chance, and I gave my brother a chance as well. I think if my brother gets angry, I will never let him go free again in my life. But he didn't react at all. It was obvious that he would know nothing happened to us as long as he kicked open the door. It was obvious that if he asked me why, I would kneel on the ground without hesitation, slap myself, and tell him that everything was just a tool I used to test him. But in the end, I still stepped into the abyss like a clown in this self-directed and self-acted drama. My brother's compromise with me in the past took another form many years later and hit me right in the heart. I'm pretty mean too. It was obviously me who half begged and half threatened my brother to be my wife, and now I am pretending to be noble in this relationship. It's just that once you get it, you don't cherish it anymore. Otherwise, why didn't I have the nobility to let him go before I got my brother? Well, I must be such a bad person. Teen. My brother has been doing so well since he left me. How can a person smile so happily at another girl shortly after getting divorced? My brother is so heartless and he really doesn't miss me at all. Poor me, I still have to be threatened and harassed by Kevin all the time. He found my brother's dessert shop from somewhere and sat there for 2 hours. When I went to pick up Kevin, the little girl was whispering to my brother again. It's so annoying. I really want to get out of the car and carry my brother away. I took Kevin home. Then he closed the door and beat me. I showed him his nude photos and warned him not to try to mess with my brother again. I drank a lot of wine that day. I miss my brother. It seems that I can only go to my brother under the influence of alcohol. Because as I grew up, I became more and more timid. Thanks to the alcohol, I was completely disliked by my brother because of my reckless words. I'm so fucking happy. 19. I sold the company and moved far away from my brother to start over. I thought that if I stayed away from my brother, I wouldn't have time to come back and see him. But I still can't do it. Come in the evening and go in the morning. On that cold, rainy day, I saw my brother's first love. They talked for a long time, so long that the rain was about to stop. Before the woman left, my brother smiled and exchanged contact information with her. I rolled up the car window and drove away, pressing down on the broken puddles. I think I won't come to see Mudong again. But 3 days later, Mudong came. 20. My brother hit me for the first time and burned me with cigarette butts. Because he knows everything. But my brother's reaction was different from what I expected. He rubbed his pale face and said a lot of words. Although the tone was calm, I felt as if I was hit by a stick and stood still. My brother seemed to be saying that he liked me. But what he said was not straightforward enough, and I was afraid that I was just being too sentimental. I held his shoulders and begged him to speak more clearly. Just a little. So my brother said a lot more. When I realized that I liked you, I also realized the gap between us in all aspects. I don't have the confidence to let a person like Mudong enjoy all your love for the rest of his life. God knows how much I wanted to rush in with a kitchen knife in my hand, without caring about anything when I caught you cheating on me. No one knew how I felt at that time. I don't even know how to describe it. I just felt like I was living my life all over again. My brother is my oxygen. Without him, I would die. I held my brother's face and kissed the corner of his mouth lightly. It must be because I didn't do well enough that I made you feel insecure. I'll write a contract later. If it happens again, I'll leave the house with nothing. No matter how many times you slash me, or even kill me, I won't pursue the matter. I think I said something wrong. My brother bit my lips hard. Do you dare to think there will be a next time? My brother initiated a brief kiss, and I could no longer control my desire. I held my brother's head and kissed him. Just like 10 years ago, my love for my brother remains as strong as ever. I dare not in this lifetime. Brother, I love you.